Last week, Parshas Pinchas, we spoke about the Vav Ketiyah, something that's very unique, most likely only once in the whole entire Torah. This week, there also is something very unique. From the trop that we have, the last line in the trop are trop that are almost never found in the Torah, starting from Shalshelis, but Shalshelis is actually a few times. Then there's some other trop that we almost don't even know how to say it. Karnei Para Mercha Kfula Yerach Ben Yoimei. Two of them are in this week's Parsha, and it's the only two of them, and it's the only time in the whole Torah. I would like to focus on this morning's Shiur on a different point. Parshas Massei, the two of the Parshas this week, Massei, we have the Membeis Masseis. Parshas, the Membeis Masseis, is just something in history. The Torah is saying they traveled, Vayisu, Vayachnu, they went here, they went there. I want to go through a little bit what's Noigeya, the Membeis Masseis, Lahalocha and Minig. The Magen Avram brings the Tzroyer Hamoyer that says that one should not be mafsik through the Membeis Masseis. The Membeis Masseis starts more or less in the beginning of the Parsha of Massei, going all the way to Shlishi. One should not be mafsik, meaning to say is really, if you want to make a lot of aliyahs, whether if you want to, you need to, you could always break up the Parsha. Every 3 psukim is another aliyah. These halachas about it, not too close to a samech. These halachas, but you could break up the aliyahs. Over here, says the Magen Avram, that when you lane Parshas Massei from the beginning all the way to Shlishi, not to break up, not to make separate aliyahs. That's the Magen Avram says. Why not? Why not to break it up? So he says, because the Membeis Masseis is connected the Shem Membeis, which we'll get to soon to explain, brought in the Rishonim. So not to break it up. You don't say only half of the Shem. So therefore it should be continuous, all the Masseis together. Now first, to break it down in a practical, to understand what do you mean not to have aliyah separately. So what's more relevant, this halach is really during the week, but not a year like this year when Matas Massei is together. So this week we were laning Parshas Matas by Shabbos Mincha, as well as also Monday and Thursday we were laning it. We were laning Parshas Matas, not Massei. We weren't laning Massei, so it's not relevant. It's relevant on a year that it's separate. Agav, when is it separate? It's only possible on a Ibiyar like this year, Shnasa Ibur. But even on Shnasa Ibur, these are 7-year cycle, different types of ways that a Shnasa Ibur could fall out. 2 out of the 7, Matas Massei are separate. Agav. It's very easy to find. The Torah brings this. He breaks it down. There are 7 types of years on a Shana Pshuta year that's not a leap year. These 7 types of layouts of the year in a Shana Mu'beres in a leap year. Out of the 7 years, 2 types of years, Massei can be separate. So regularly on a Monday, Thursday, and Mincha, Shabbos Mincha, we lane Tol Sheni. 3 aliyahs Tol Sheni. So if you take a look in the Chumash, Tol Sheni, starting from Pasuk Aleph Tol Sheni, is 10 psukim, the minimum, 10 psukim. However, it stops in the middle Vayisu Vayachnu. So it's interesting, the Aruch HaShulchan says that this halacha, not to break up the Membeis Masseis, says the Aruch HaShulchan, it's only on Shabbos. Interesting, only Shabbos Shachris, meaning to say Mincha, you could. It's totally obviously b'minig. If you take a look, the minig Chabad and the minig of Munkach is actually even during the week also not to stop. So you take a look in a Siddur Chabad, you go take a look soon in Tilas Hashem, for Parshas Massei they have a very long aliyah. they go straight till Shlishi. There's actually a small difference. I'm not going to get into it now, but there's this little small difference between these two manhagim. If the first Aliyah Koyin goes all the way till Shlishi, till the end of the Massei, or these are Levi starts the Massei, that's really basically where does the Massei start. Okay, that's a point difference of mamash a second. However, just to bring out this nakuda, if you say that even during the week you're also supposed to have one straight aliyah, so then it comes out that you're supposed to have one long aliyah tol shlishi, at least for Koyin or for Levi. But if it's only Shabbos morning, then it's negeya this week also. It's negeya. If you make Haisafis true, you're supposed to connect the two Parshas. You once spoke about it, that you're supposed to connect as many Haisafis as you make. You're supposed to connect one aliyah from one Parsha to the next. We spoke about it, Be'etzim is supposed to be Revi, the middle aliyah. But Al Koponim, after you're connecting it, technically you want to make Haisafis, so you stop all along. So Zok the Magen Avraham not to stop. I just want to bring out what's the shaila over here. What's the shaila b'chlal about if during the week also to be mafsek or not? So the question really is the pshat when you read all 42 Massayis, then you're not supposed to break it? Or the pshat is you're never supposed to read all the Membeis Massayis by its broken up? Again, is the pshat if you're reading all the Membeis Massayis, then don't split it up? Or the pshat is you can never read the Membeis Massayis split up. L'nafkamin in the week. In the week you want to go till Sheni. So you're not reading all the Membeis Massayis. Could you read some of the Membeis Massayis? You're not reading all. If it's only when you read all not to split it, so then you could. That would be the shaila lagabi during the week. What were you going to say? I'm sorry.
The Gemara said the Chris Affair Monday and Thursday is more of a din of Talmud Torah, so it goes 3 days without learning. So that could be the reasoning for our shulchan. When it's a din of the Kriyas Affair of Kriyas Affair, then you can't break them up. Well, we're just doing it out of Talmud Torah, then maybe that's the Lar Shulchan's svara. That's why you can break it up.
You're saying if it's only Talmud Torah, Lamaisa is a din in Kriya. Lamaisa, the Kriya is for Talmud Torah, but Lamaisa we're reading the Membeis Massayis. Let's you mamash understand that it's literally Talmud Torah kepshutai. Before going in a little bit into the Shem Membeis, what does the Magen Avraham say? The Magen Avraham says that we read the Membeis Massayis all in one aliyah, not to break it up to Shem Membeis. The Achronim ask a very interesting question. If you take a look through the Membeis Massayis, you'll see that it's not 42, it's actually 41. You count. The Rashash says that I actually counted it, and there's only 41. As if like the Taz ala Torah in the Sefer Divrei David, the Rashash, the Menachos, and the Prisha. And as Pirish on the tour asked the Shiur, there's only 41. And they all say the same teretz. And they say true that it's only 41 Massais, but these 42 locations. What does that mean? If I traveled from here to Brooklyn to Lakewood, so how many trips did I do? From here to Brooklyn to Lakewood, how many travelings did I do? How many trips? I did 2 trips. From here to Brooklyn, and then from Brooklyn to Lakewood, I did 2 trips. However, how many places included in my included in my travel? 3: Monsey, Brooklyn, and Lakewood. So, Membeis Massayis, it's true they only traveled 41 travelings. However, locations was 42. Because if they traveled 41 places, you count the first and the last, it's 42. Al Kapanim, the Magen Avram says not to break up the 42 Massei because it's Keneged Hashem Mem Beis. To point out that this Shem Mem Beis is brought in the Rishonim. Rabbeinu Bachaya speaks about it. Legabe da Avodas Yom Kippur Lefnei Hashem Titaru, says Rabbeinu Bachaya, the Avodah of Yom Kippur was with the Shem Mem Beis. Tosfos in Chagiga says that the first two psukim in Bereshis, the 42 letters is Keneged the Shem Mem Beis. This is a Tosfos in Chagiga. The Tzroir HaMoyer, this shtickle that he says not to break up, the Mem Beis Masois, he says just like the beginning of the Torah, Tosfos says, as the Shem Mem Beis, says the Tzroir HaMoyer, the end of the Torah as well also, here, Parshas Massei. What does it mean it's the end of the Torah? Because the last Chumash is Mishnah Torah, is really, to some extent, not considered a chelik. Tosfos in the beginning of Gittin. So Mamela says it's Tzroir HaMoyer, just like the beginning of the Torah has the Shem Mem Beis, the end of the Torah also, here, Parshas Massei is included the Shem Mem Beis. What is the Shem Mem Beis? Ana B'Koyach, if you look in some of the Sidurim, Ana B'Koyach, which is 42 words, the first letter of every single word in Ana B'Koyach makes up the Shem Mem Beis. Ana B'Koyach Duas Yemincha, the second line or the second pasuk, Kabel Rinas Amcha Sagbeinu Tareinu Noira, is Kra Satan. These are, I have it over here, but these are, maybe you could call it a shmira, skula. People had this during the time of COVID, Rahman al-Islam, they hung it up as a shmira, this Ana B'Koyach, which also had the letters, had Ana B'Koyach Gedulas, the words, it had each one, 42 over here, each one has a letter, the letter of the Shem Mem Beis, and it also spelled out all of the Masois, Ramsey, Sukkos, Esam. So what we're saying over here is that the Shem Mem Beis, the letters of Ana B'Koyach, is also these Mem Beis Masois. Each of the Mem Beis Masois was Keneged another letter. The Malbim adds on, and the Malbim says for Reb Shamshon Astapolia, whose yahrzeit is now Gimel Av, it's brought that when Klal Yisrael was traveling from Ramses, they didn't know. It says V'lo Yada, they didn't know if to go to Sukkos, if to go to Kehelasa, or Moiseres. So he asks, what do you mean? They didn't know one of these three destinations? What's about any others? Like, what was the shaila? They didn't know if to go to these three places. And furthermore, these other places where it says V'lo Yada, why not V'lo Yada B'chlal? They didn't know where to go. So he explains, Klal Yisrael understood the GPS system in the Midbar. The Masoyas was going with the Shem Mem Beis. They knew that, says the Malbim. And they knew that's the Koyach, they knew that. However, if you take a look, I could show you afterwards inside in the paper, but if you take a look, the letters, they were leaving Ramses and they had to go from Ramses, Ana B'Koyach, the next letter is a Beis. Ana B'Koyach, the Beis. So they didn't know if from Ramses they should go to the Beis of Sukkos, where they actually went, or they should go to the Beis of Kehelasa, or to the Beis of Moiseres. So that's the V'lo Yada. That's why B'dafka, those three, Klal Yisrael didn't know which Beis should they go to. They knew that their travel system was Al-Pi the Shem Mem Beis. But they didn't know when they're going from letter Aleph to letter Beis, which Beis to go to. That's V'lo Yada. Al Kolpanim, Zok the Magen Avram, the Mem Beis Masois is connected the Shem Mem Beis, and therefore not to break it up, to break up the Aliyah, not to break up the Shem Mem Beis. The Chassam Sofer over here in this week's Parsha says the second line of the Shem Mem Beis is Kras Satan. So he says that from when they left Mitzrayim till when they got to Har Sinai, Laramis Kimiridis Amon told the Gemara of Matan Torah was Kras Satan, was to remove the Satan. But Al Kaparim, the traveling throughout the Midbar was a travel with the Shem Mem Beis. Rabbeinu Bachaya says that just like Klal Yisrael traveled in the Midbar, Mem Beis Masayis, everything that's in the Torah then is negated to us now. Says Rabbeinu Bachaya, in the Golus, we're also going to have Masayis. We're also going to have Masayis. Like as we know, Klal Yisrael, different Goliaths, different locations. They were in Svarad, all different places, all different countries throughout the world. There's also Masayis. B'Haisafa in Megala Amukas, he says, the Rosh Tevis of the beginning of the Parsha, Eila Massei B'nei Yisrael, the first letters of Eila Massei B'nei Yisrael, Aleph, Mem, Beis, Yud. What's Aleph is Edom, Mem is Madai, Beis is Bovel, Yud is Yavan. Included in the Massei B'nei Yisrael is included also now the four Goliaths, the four places, like he says, actually it's backwards. Edom is the last, but Al Kapanim, these are the Massei B'nei Yisrael, even in the Midbar. The Avodas Yisrael says that these 21 days, the Bein HaMetzarim that we're in now, so he says that 21 days has 21 days and 21 nights, which is 42. Also this Yesod, the Yemei Bein HaMetzarim, which were being mas'abel under Churban Abayis, and now we're in Golus, also call it represents 42, the 42 nights and days is the 42 Masoyas, but often that we're traveling throughout in the Golus. I just want to conclude with one more pointer. Atkan, we spoke about, let's call it a din brought in the Magen Avram. Though you'll see these minhagim lakan, some actually will break it. It's not the later poskim speak about it. This Magen Avram, by the way, is quoted all over the El Yerabah, the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch, the Aruch HaShulchan, the Mishnah Brura, amongst many more. But Lamaisa, you might be in a shul that they are going to break it up. It's brought in the Magen Avram. Some say that the Magen Avram only quotes the Tzroir Amor, and it's not. It just brings. You should know these such a concept, but Lav Dafka it's Halacha Lamaisa. There's one other pointer for today. Is a minig that's brought. I think the earliest place that this minig is quoted in time was about 200 years ago. That when you read the Mem Beis Masoyis, you read it like the nigun of the Shira Sayam. Right, the Shira Lashem Ki Go, Sus V'Roich Ramo Bayom. Sorry, my voice is a little down today. So some have the minig, the same thing also as the Mem Beis Masoyis. Agav, interesting. When it's brought earlier, some have the minig over there also, a couple of parshas ago. Some question this minig and not to do it, not to sing it Beloshin, this Nigan of Shira, because by the Massei, if you sing it Vayisu Vayachnu, you end up skipping a Seif Pasuk. For an example, Vayisu Me'elim Vayachnu Al Yamsuf, Vayisu Me'yamsuf Vayachnu B'midbar Sin. That's how you would say it. L'maisa, the first part, what happened to the Seif Pasuk? So some, because of that, actually don't say such a nusach. Some have a little bit of a way out. They kind of say it. Basically, each pasuk has the whole tune. Meaning to say, every single pasuk is going to be the end of it. It's interesting. It's brought that the Maram Shik, one week during his Chumash year, used to learn with his Talmidim Chumash Rashi. During his Chumash year, he said over that his Rebbe's minig, the Chassam Sofer, was not to say the nigun. Not to say the nigun. And he said it's very interesting. He was bothered, he had a question, why the Chassam Sofer didn't say the nigun? Why? What was the question? And he said the following, he said, these are machlokes rishonim, if the Membei's Masoyis is a genai, or if the Membei's Masoyis is a shvach. Rashi learns the Membei's Masoyis is a genai. Das heißt, because of the Chet HaMeraglim, they had to stay in the Midbar, and they had to be, so to speak, bounced around. It's a Gnai. It's a Gnai. However, the Ramban says that it's not a Gnai. The Ramban says that Fakert, the Membei's Masoyis says the Shvach of Klal Yisrael, the Shvachim of the Rabbeinu Shalom, the Nisim that the Eibishter made. Could you imagine a whole entire nation traveling in a midbar? There's no food. There's the man. There's no danger of animals. There's the Anani HaKavod. It was a shvach. Mamela says the Maram Shek that if you should say the Membei's Masoyis Beloshin Shira like the Oz Yasher, should be mitlatali. Loit Rashi that it's a Gnai. I understand. You don't say it. It's a Gnai. But later Ramban that it's a Shvach, then you should say the song. You should say it Beloshin Nigun Beloshin Shira. Says the Chassam Sofer, very interesting. It says the Maram Shek, my Rebbe the Chassam Sofer was Moiridik Machaviv the Ramban, the Pirush of the Ramban. He used to encourage his Talmidim to learn every week Chumash, Rashi, Ramban. At Kedei Kach, says the Maram Shek, that the Chassam Sofer used to be Machaviv more his Talmidim, Makarev them more, the ones who learned the Ramban. And he brings, if I understand correctly, he says that the Chassam Sofer said that he had a nitzutz from his neshama, was a chelik, was from the Ramban.